Welcome to the Mental Health Bootcamp Podcast.
Woo!
Woohoo! This is the podcast where psychotherapists, three of us Canadian, one of us American, serve you cutting-edge mental health knowledge. I am Ryan Howes from California.
And I'm Joanna Boyd, live in a city called Port Moody outside Vancouver, Canada.
And I am Brooke Lewis from Vancouver, Canada.
I'm Chris Boyd, also from outside Vancouver, and I'm Joanna's brother.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. A proud brother you are. And
let's not get carried away. Let's not get carried away.
Of course. You guys and your family dynamics. We do have to visit that in this episode here, I'm sure.
Oh, no. Maybe it'll be today.
Maybe. Who knows? We don't know what the ambush is going to be today.
Only you know.
You know, yeah.
The ambush where I know what the topic is, the three of you do not, and I spring it on you. Oh, so much fun.
Yeah.
So, gosh, you guys, how the heck are you? How's smoky Vancouver?
It is smoky.
Yeah?
Definitely have the orange sun in the sky. It's the most bizarre light that shines through the window. It's just like this orange light. It's weird. But yeah, smoky. We had a little bit of blue sky a few days ago, but that is now gone. So hopefully it passes, and best wishes to all the people in the States who are living right in the thick of it. All the fires.
Yes, for
We
sure.
also have a ton of moths up here.
Still,
they sneak into my place. I don't know how. My windows are closed.
So yeah, for those moth-phobic people out there, like Joanna, it's a pretty scary time up here.
Yeah.
How big are the moths? How are they? The huge ones or the
No.
little guys?
They're not bad,
the
but they're not.
size of a loony. And I'm like, you don't know what a loony is.
A loony. A loony is like the size of $50, an American $50 or so, I believe. Or is it a quarter? I can't remember. I don't have my loonies with me.
I think our quarters are the same size.
Yeah, that's right. So loonies are bigger?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so probably a $50 or a silver dollar. I don't know. That's not not as big as our dollar. Anyway, big moths or medium-sized moths, not massive, and kind of gross, huh?
It could be worse, but thank goodness they're not, because that would be really terrible for me. But I was just lying on the couch, one like rose up right in front of me, and I was like, where did this come from? Anyways, it's all good. We're fine. Everything is fine.
I just pretend that they're butterflies.
It's a good reframe.
What do you guys name the moths? Do you have a name for them? Or is it just my family that does that? Like not every single one doesn't get a name, but there's like a human name that we give the moth.
I think I told you broke that story about I came home years ago and a gigantic moth. I called it Maurice, was in my entranceway. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'll deal with that in a second. So I was taking my shoes off, and I went around the corner. I couldn't find him. I searched everywhere, like every closet. Yeah, I never found Maurice again.
Oh boy.
But,
And that apartment has since burnt down, Chris. So
yeah, it's probably Maurice that set the fire.
Or you start missing clothing because it ate your clothing.
Maurice is so darn big, like it'd be holes in the clothing. But
Yeah.
Brooke, we got to talk about this naming thing.
So we call any moth that we say, any white moth, is called George.
Okay.
I don't know why. And I didn't know if it was just me and my family or if it was like a thing. No, we call it, anytime we see a moth, we're like, oh, hey, George.
But if it's a gray one or a brown one or something like that, is it a different name or?
You don't really see too many of those.
Oh, okay. That's.
I would say the majority of them are white. Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, George.
Yes.
I don't know.
That's okay. So there's George. George is in the room, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, you just say hi to George. I don't know what it is.
That's good. That's good. Well, and that reminds me of something we've been doing during COVID in my family, which is we've created another family member because it's too much to get on each other's cases for like leaving the light on or not putting away your dishes or something like that, leaving the shoes in the living room, something like that. So it's Jeff's fault. So Jeff left his shoes in the living room again, or Jeff didn't close the refrigerator door. So it works out pretty well. We get to kind of, cathartic, get all our feelings out, but we're not really creating enemies that way.
Yeah.
That wouldn't work for our families there, Ryan, because both Chris and I have a brother, Jeff, and so does Brooke.
Yeah, all of our
Families.
older brothers. Yeah,
It's
both older brothers are Jeff.
Well,
so actually, that could be pretty funny.
I don't know that if I've told you this before, you guys, but I also have an older brother, Jeff.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. How does your Jeff spell his name?
Jeff.
Oh, one of those. Yeah, we have a
Jeffrey
Geo.
or Jeffrey.
Oh.
E-R-Y or R-E-Y?
I think it's R-E-Y. Oh wait, now I'm on the spot here. Oh my gosh, hope he's not listening. Sorry, but I just think it's funny that we all have older brothers named Jeff. This Jeff was the name was chosen from my youngest son, who just said, "Let's call him Jeff." So
That's so funny.
yes, that is funny. That's good. All right, I know we learn something new every day. Anything else? Anything else to mention here? We all up to date? Everyone good to go? You ready for your ambush?
Yeah.
We are.
Okay, guys. All right. I'm the one up for tonight. So I'm going to send myself the text message, and I'm going to share the message with you. There's a little backstory to it, but I'll just send it to me right now. Ready? Drum roll, please. Okay. Are you ready? Here we go.
Joanna's gonna lose it. Joanna's losing it.
She can't take it.
No, Chris, I think you're like, you just have to watch this back, Chris, whatever your face was doing during the
I was like,
during the drum roll, your eye was like twitching at the same time. Well, sorry. Okay.
Oh, we almost got Joanna a laugh attack. That would have been great.
We're so close. I was like, oh, she's gonna tip over.
He's never the best musician, that's for sure.
Okay, back to topic here. You ready?
Yeah.
Here's the topic. Here's the question. Joanna, are you with us?
Yes, I'm good. Yeah.
Okay. All right. How do you make friends? Practical advice and emotional advice, please.
Oh, what a topic.
Here's where this
story.
Well, it's a little bit. I mean, honestly, this is a question that I think came up from maybe my very first client I ever had when I was in graduate school and training. How do you make friends? It's like there's so many things that we talk about, like, oh, socializing and don't isolate and get out there and be with people. But then this question comes up. Oh, I don't actually have friends, or I'm not in a place where I can easily make friends. So how do you make friends? And I've heard this from people, young and old, all age ranges, just wondering how we can make some more friends. So I'm curious to know what you guys would say about this. And like I say, practical advice, like how actually can you actually do this, make a plan to do this. But I know it's more than just where to go and what to say. It's also kind of emotionally preparing yourself for that too.
Yeah. What kind of pops into my mind right away is I feel there's almost two paths. One is to enhance existing connections that you have in your life, or secondly, create opportunities to connect with new people, right? And then trying to map that out a bit. And then the second part of that would be like how to go about that, or maybe some techniques or traits to embody that will increase the chances of fostering a close connection, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's the practicality part of it, and then there's the second part of it is, when you're given that opportunity, what to do and what not to do.
Sure, I think yes. The practical points of putting yourself in a position to be around other people who are friend potential, right?
Yeah.
That part. But then there's, okay, now you're there. Now you're in some social setting. Now what do you do? And how do you talk to yourself about that maybe?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think this is a really good question, Ryan, because I agree it comes up a lot. And I don't know how easy it is for people to make friends in Pasadena. But a friend of mine said it really well here. He has lived all over, and he said, people here are really polite, but they're not friendly. And I thought that was so well said, because I've grown up here my whole life. I will hold doors, chit chat, whatever, but we're not a community that when we meet someone that we immediately invite them over for dinner if we know that they're new to the neighborhood or whatnot. There's hesitation. So we're very, very polite, but it's actually very difficult to make friends in the Vancouver area, is my understanding.
Wow.
Yeah.
My mind is blown because, of course, you guys are the three people I know the most in the Vancouver area, and I've been to your homes for dinner.
It's true. Maybe because we didn't meet you in Vancouver, so.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think there's a range of people who actually know their neighbors. I think there's going to be people who know their neighbors very well, and I think COVID has really helped with that and introducing themselves and that friendly banter. But I think there's probably a good majority who don't interact even with people you see on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm. Or in the elevator or wherever, right?
People
but this, yeah, this topic definitely comes up a lot in my clients as well. And I agree with Chris that there's kind of the two angles, right? So enhancing the relationships that you already have, or putting yourself into a situation to make new ones. And doing that could be can be difficult. It does take a lot of vulnerability and courage, I think, to step out, to be the one that's going to initiate meeting up outside of whatever you're doing. So if it's a colleague, being the person to make the invite to say, hey, why don't we go for a walk together, grab a coffee or whatnot, opposed to anticipating the other person is going to be extending that invitation.
Yes.
And I think that's a huge one. Just
Yes.
being able to have that courage to do so.
Well, and people may have a structure in their mind, a schema, maybe an irrational belief, we could say, that like, oh, if people like me, then they will invite me to do things. And whereas maybe they have to make more of that first step themselves. So maybe there's just a lot of different sort of rules that people play by that maybe the rest of the world or the rest of the room isn't playing by.
And I think that goes for, can't speak for all individuals, but some who might struggle a lot with anxiety or depression is that, those irrational thoughts, like you said, might be like, they're not talking to me because they don't want to talk to me, or they are judging me, or I'm not good enough, or they don't want to be my friend, or something's wrong with me. And there's already that, right? Versus they're probably just thinking about all these other different things, or they're devoting their time and energy other places, or already established relationships. So I think that plays a role. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I want to hear what you're going to say.
I was just going to say, and I think the three of us, not so much you, Ryan, but I think work a lot with teenagers. And that's a big question that comes up, is starting school, or some kids might not have a lot of friends, and how do they put themselves out there? And it's hard too when they're put in environments where kids already know each other. There's not a lot of new fish there in the pond, or they've been hurt and their trust has been broken, or they've been wounded in past relationships. And so there's that blocking them as well from putting themselves out there again, because they have to, it's vulnerability, like you said, Brooke, right? But there's the risk of being rejected, and someone might not like you, but it's anyway, there's so much.
And Joanna, just to piggyback on that for briefly here, defining what friendships are now and what that looks like is important. Kind of, Ryan, what you were talking about. So I do have not just friendships, but some clients that are trying to get into relationships, pursuing relationships, and they're newer in the community and have smaller circles. And so talking about how do you move a friendship or a relationship from online to offline? So even for teenagers in school, they'll be sharing Snapchats, but then how do you then move that to a friendship that's actually in person? right? So
Right.
I think that there's almost these different stages to it now. There's an extra stage that maybe when we were all younger, that wasn't there.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. I was thinking too, Joanna mentioned like earlier experiences. Often the friends that we have, it's based on proximity. And obviously based on what developmentally is going on, it could be a pretty tumultuous time and could be pretty challenging. So of course that could lead to an impact later on in life when you're trying to forge those connections. But as time goes on, I think there's a little more freedom to maybe find someone who has similar interests as you, or maybe you're more aligned in terms of values or goals or whatever that might be.
Sure.
So would that be in places like, then again, I guess I would go more practicality. Like, would that be at school, like university? Would it be in a workplace? Would it be if you volunteer somewhere? Would it be friends of friends? Like, that's a lot harder as an adult. Like, I don't know. Yeah. Or at least I hear that from people.
Yes, I agree. Oh, there's so much to dive into here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just thinking of the fact that the last time I heard this was from a recent college graduate who was who had moved also to a new town and was looking for work and was saying, wow, college really made all this socializing stuff really easy. And now I have to really work to try to find people to hang out with. And that's true. So at times when I've talked with people about this in the past, and they say, well, where do I find people? I can rattle off a bunch of options, just like you did, Joe, like, work, church for some people, or synagogue, a place of worship, people who are like-minded in that way. School, or classes, whether it's taking a community class for one sort or another, an art class, something like that, if they're interested in that. Volunteer organizations, charities, charitable work, that sort of thing can be great for that. Or just, people in the neighborhood walking around like we're doing now.
Or sports.
Or sports,
oh,
yeah.
That's a great
really
one,
good.
yeah.
Yeah. So that's all. That's a nice list of 5 or 6 things that are pretty easy to share. But then, okay, now I go to one of these. Now I go to the sports team, and I'm there on day one, and now I have to work on this vulnerability piece and actually put myself out there and take the risk of walking up to a group of people and saying, "Hi, my name is," That's hard.
I think it's good to normalize for that person that there's going to be a lot of nerves, and if and that's okay. That's not a sign to stop. It's a sign that you're just going outside your comfort zone and to kind of push forward. But and to remind them that you don't need to divulge your whole life story to this person the first time you meet them as well. Like, you can small chat people and just get to know small details about general surface level details about their lives, and you can see if there's some connection of hitting it off. And if you want to, maybe you'll see them next week at practice and then the week after, and it could be a slow build.
It's true.
Yeah.
And you might hit it off, you might not, and that's okay.
Yeah, but not to get discouraged, right?
Yeah.
Because we are social relational beings. And I heard a while ago that rejection impacts the same part of the brain as physical pain. So it really hurts. The fear of disconnection and rejection is huge, right? So if you're not successful with your social pursuit, then not to get discouraged, like to keep on going, right? It's so important. It takes a lot of strength and courage.
The challenge
the
challenge for folks who are dealing with some form of anxiety, like a social anxiety, is really, of course, hits hardest at these moments, because there can be so self-conscious in those moments of like, oh my gosh, what are people thinking of me? How are they gonna respond to me? Did I just say something stupid? Are they going to be interested in me, right? And that inward focus, I think, unfortunately, that's the enemy of making friendships, right?
So
You're not really showing curiosity about the other person. You're not really able to really listen intently to what they're saying, because you're so focused on yourself in that moment. And that's where I think the intervention for those folks needs to come, is like, okay, how can you try to shift your focus onto the other person and be curious about them? I don't know. How would you guys handle that?
No, it's
we're all looking at each other for the listeners. we're all kind of scanning each other's faces here, but
I guess I think about just like with anxiety in other situations, like if you're going to make anxiety comfortable, whether it's social anxiety, you're not going to talk to people. If you're worried about going out, you're going to stay home, or you're not going to go do that presentation, or so it's, I think, normalizing that anxiety response and try to help them understand that, and maybe take small steps of helping them build up towards it. Talking to store clerks, or just having small chat with people. And it doesn't need to be, this is going to be the person I need to be friends with, but let's just practice talking to people and try to help them step into that discomfort and show themselves that they're okay, but not get too flooded by it, I guess, like too overwhelmed, I guess.
Yeah.
Yes.
I agree.
Yeah,
Yes.
I agree too. Like the, we talked a bit before about trying to calm the body, like doing something behavioral to calm down the stress and anxiety a bit, and then trying to shift the mind. But there's something called emotional reasoning, right? Where sometimes people think that because the emotions are there, there's actually a threat, that something bad is actually going to happen. But that's often not the case. Anxiety often is overestimating the likelihood of something bad happening to you, right?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, I agree with you, Joanna. And as an addition to that, it would be setting them up for success. So making suggestions or trying to spitball a bit, like talking to a store clerk is probably pretty safe. Like that's a good way to set up for success. Or for teenagers in high schools, we try and brainstorm in your class. Is there someone that's kind of known to be like a nice person? Right? There tends to be nice people around you. Is there someone that seems a little less threatening opposed to someone who's maybe extremely extroverted or louder in class, or a bit more attention is on that? Is there someone that you haven't said hello to, but you would feel comfortable doing that, right? So, and just saying hi, and that's it. Just acknowledging their presence and moving forward, and then saying, how are you, or how was your day, or whatever, building up from there. So I agree with that. And then, yeah, just to expand on Chris, for sure. And also mentioning the mind reading. So often we do that. We mind read what we assume what other people are thinking, or future telling. We assume a negative event in the future when really we have no idea. As far as I know, if you're clairvoyant, if you can read minds, please reach out to us. We'd love to see what you think we're thinking. But as far as I know, we can't. So if we really have to kind of nip that in the bud, right? Like to say, I don't actually know what they're thinking. They could be hungry.
Yeah. There's also the high likelihood of there's other anxious people in the room or other anxious people in that classroom. So maybe track them down as well, because they will really appreciate it when you take that initiative and say hi.
Yes. Yeah.
I've got a fun one here. This was something I talked with, I believe this was a Harriet Lerner. If she's a author, psychologist and author, usually writes about women's issues, but I think she was talking about dating one time, and she talked about just going and getting over your fear of rejection by just asking a bunch of people out, people that wouldn't respond to you or wouldn't be people, and just go do that, and then you can kind of get over that. So I told this to a client many years ago. I said, if this is someone who's on a college campus and was having a hard time making friends, we talked about it. I talked about that idea of just getting over the fear of rejection by getting rejected a bunch, right? And so he said, okay, between now and the next session, I'm going to go around campus and I'm going to ask 20 people to go to coffee with me and see what happens. So he took it and ran with it. So he went and did just that. I think he asked 25 people, hey, how you doing? You want to go grab coffee with me? And to his surprise, most people were like, no, I don't know you. Who are you? Get away from me, that kind of thing. But there were 3 people who said, sure, let's go. And a couple of them became his good friends, actually. But through that process, he was able to demystify rejection, get over the idea of, oh, rejection is going to be the end of the world. It's going to be the most horrible thing I can experience. It's just like, no, people just are going to say no sometimes, and that's okay.
Yep.
No, I agree.
So
of the group of us here, I was reflecting on this, I think I'm the instigator one. And my friends mentioned that as well. So if I'm out in public, I'm extroverted that way. If I'm out in public, I don't have a problem saying hello to people and starting a conversation. So I met Chris in college, and I believe it was me that was like, "Oh, hey, how are you? You said you were at a concert. How'd it go?"
Yeah, I left it to halfway through because I was a little exhausted. But, well, halfway through the class, that is, not the concert. But
so the following class, I was like, I followed up on the fact that he said he was at a concert and asked how it went. And for Ryan,
how was Smashmouth, Chris?
That's funny.
Unbelievable.
That's funny. And then we met Ryan at the symposium, and he was coming. We were in the same area, the lobby, and I said hi, and you said hi back, and we started a conversation and found common ground.
Yes.
Being on the West Coast, and we're the only people that were still awake because
Mm-hmm.
everybody else was asleep in Washington. So, and we had a chat and connected over that. So for me, my reframe, I think the reason that it's not scary for me personally, not just because I'm extroverted and I don't really have fear around that, but also I try and think about it to the other person. Perhaps this other person would appreciate someone saying hello to them.
I certainly did appreciate it, Brooke. Thank you.
Right?
Yeah.
Thank goodness, Brooke. Thank goodness.
Way to go. Never got a rye
We got a
guy
rye
in your
guy.
life. Yeah.
Ryan carried us after that. I just said hello. The rest of it was on him. But,
Yeah.
you know, I think that's an important piece too, is to remember the person that you're saying hello to maybe really would appreciate someone saying hello to them.
That's a great point.
Sure. But also, yeah. Oh, go ahead, Ryan. Sorry.
I was just going to say, when you guys were talking about teenagers, it reminded me of the whole scenario of like there's a group of people and there's someone kind of standing a little bit on the outside. And a lot of times the people who are in the group are kind of wondering, oh, why is she on the outside? Is she too good for us? And oftentimes the person on the outside is like terrified to enter that group. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm too scared to like, nudge my way in there. So there's all these misperceptions about how that can look. And so I love that idea, Brooke. Why not just lead with being open and making invitations? Because you never know who might be looking for that.
And Joanna does a remarkable job at social gatherings. If there's someone that she doesn't know, you're like the first person to go up to them and say, "Hi, I'm Joanna, and who are you here?" Like, and introduce yourself and make them feel welcome. So it's just for those listeners who don't have trouble with it, perhaps be aware that others do, and really just make that effort to extend a hello, a greeting, and introduce yourself. It makes a world of a difference.
Yeah. I've worked with clients who they've had opportunities to connect with people. So maybe it's not that initial step that they're having issues with. It's what to do after that, or how they go about those interactions, right? So a few things that we've discussed in the past are being aware of your nonverbals, right? Being authentic and genuine. So not trying to be fakey or be something that you're not.
What are your nonverbals, Chris? What does that mean?
Well, nonverbals, like, sometimes we have a frowny face. Sometimes we walk around and as if we don't want negative attention from others, or sometimes we look standoffish, right?
Avoiding eye contact.
Avoiding eye contact, looking down. Like, there's a lot of things that we do. It's so funny with strangers, that is. If it's an acquaintance, we tend to light up a little bit. If it's a friend, even more so, right? So just being aware of that. And then, Carl Rogers, the famous American psychologist, talked about, again, authenticity or being genuine, having some empathy and being non-judgmental. So there's certain things you can do within those conversations to increase the chances of success, right? Be one of the best communicators are often the best listeners. So try not to dominate those conversations. I often encourage people to just ask questions. People like to talk about themselves. So how's your day going today? How was your weekend? What do you think about the smoke? Do you have a phobia of moths? There's so many things you can, and just to get the dialogue going.
Sure.
I think, Chris, part of that for people is the fear that somebody's going to ask them that question back, of like, if you say, "Hey, how was your weekend?" And then they say, "How was your weekend?" And if you are new and you haven't really done much, sometimes there's shame or embarrassment associated with that. So yes, I agree. Definitely coaching or helping clients find questions, but finding questions that work really well for them as well, and keeping them open-ended questions or questions that are likely to be asked back to them. I think that's important.
So open-ended, not like a yes or no question, more of a one that,
Yeah. And finding, I was going to say, finding mutual interest or common ground is important. So remembering something wherever that, if you had small talk with a colleague or a classmate about something, trying to remember that and following up on that. Or if you find something in common, then you can have a better dialogue around that, which might lead to an invite to something. So if it's a certain band and now that band is in town and maybe you guys want to go together to so there's a build to that.
Yeah, that's great. Smashmouth, let's go, Chris.
Uh-huh.
Did you know Smashmouth had a concert?
No.
I'm pretty sure it was like up here. So there was that, like, I think there was something about Smashmouth in a concert and
oh boy,
a hoopla and how it was like, why are we breaking concerts for Smashmouth? And anyway,
I didn't know that, but yeah, I think some of the challenge, we're doing a lot of talking about how to make that initial introduction, which I think is terribly important. The most important step is to actually get your foot in the door. But I also know a lot of people who have a lot of acquaintances, but they're not really friends with them. And sometimes they want to be able to amp that up to the next level, like, hey, we've been coworkers for 2 years. How about you come over and we'll watch the game this weekend or something like that to kind of take it to that next level. And sometimes that's, it's the same sort of thing, a little bit anxiety provoking, a little bit of vulnerability there, kind of risk of rejection. But I think everything you're talking about there, Brooke, I think is right. I mean, you keep in mind what your similarities are and what the other person's interests might be, and you kind of build on that, right?
Yeah, and it might, for adults, if you're at work and you have coworkers, there's probably a few coworkers that you're connecting well with. Why not suggest that you all do something together? So, whether it's going to grab happy hour or an appetizer or beer or whatever it might be, hey, why don't we do this every Wednesday or whatever it might be? So creating a bit of that where you're hanging out now socially, but with parameters. People like parameters. There's a start and there's an end. There's a way that,
Good.
Also to keep in mind, I think we all kind of, as humans, like you said, Chris, we have that, we're social beings, and we have that, I think, desire for belonging. And I think it's a friendly reminder that we might not jibe well with everyone, or everyone might not be meant to be our friends. And I think even you could see a group and you could see, oh, I want to be a part of that, or I just want to belong to a friendship or have that. But you might try a few times, and if it just doesn't work, to not take it as something's wrong with me or I need to change myself. It could be that they're just not going to be your people, and to look elsewhere and find those commonalities and those common grounds. Because you could be the best peach you can be, but someone might just not like peaches. I don't know did you say that to me, Brooke, about something before? I don't know.
I did.
It sounds like a Brooke thing.
Total Brooke line, yeah.
Yeah.
It was me.
But it's you can be like,
you could be a perfect peach.
But someone might just not like peaches. So it's there's nothing wrong with peaches. You just got to find other peaches.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Bananas, right?
I wish you would have told me that when I was dating in my 20s, Brooke, because boy, I would get really upset that I wasn't the apple when someone was really looking for peaches. It was so much of it has to do with goodness of fit, how well things fit together. And maybe a friendship group might look like it's great for you, but maybe it's not a good fit. So you find another group,
Yeah.
So I'm going to throw something else out there. In Mark Manson's book, The Subtle Art Not Giving a Beep, he talks about metrics, right? And because sometimes people really want to have these friendships and they establish these connections, but they're not healthy. Maybe there's not reciprocation or mutual respect, or maybe there's a codependency there. Like, there's so many things that could happen, right? So having a bit of an idea of what a good friendship looks like, and how can you measure that, right?
Yeah.
So is that individual? Like you, Chris, would have your own idea of what does a friendship look like, and kind of go for that?
Yeah, for sure. So for instance, yeah, I mentioned reciprocation. So
Yeah.
when you're putting energy and effort into a friendship, you kind of want to get that back a bit. You want to make sure it's you have going in the same direction. So I know that happened to me coming out of high school. Like some friends are going in the direction of the partying and maybe more experimentation and whatnot. And so to really trying to assess that and just trying to get it realigned in terms of that direction. So because sometimes you lose sight of it when you're in the middle of it, right?
Totally. It's a good way to look at it.
No, it's interesting. You know how there's all these dating apps out there? Bumble is one, and they actually, oh, this is not a plug for it, but they also have a BFF version. So instead of looking for someone to date, you can actually look to befriend someone. And it's just a bunch of profiles of looking through friends and talking to people just to make a friend. So it's kind of cool that there's, for people who might be like, I don't want to go to the bar. I don't have other new environments that there's something like that.
Mm-hmm. Especially right now with COVID.
Yeah, definitely.
Because you can't join a running club or the dragon boat team or do art or whatnot, right?
Yeah.
The Dragon Boat team?
That's like thing up here.
What's that?
It's like rowing. It's like a brook, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like really, really big canoe.
Yeah.
And there's like a team of people in it and they all have a paddle, so they row together.
And someone's drumming.
And someone drums, yeah.
Wow.
And then there's like dragon boat races, and it's kind of all ages, sort of. Like it's it's quite a thing.
Is that an indigenous peoples thing, or is that something borrowed from, I guess, dragon? Is that an Asian?
I think it has its origins from China.
Okay. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, it's quite popular. Dragon boats.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, pickleball is also really big right now.
Yes.
Lots of people playing pickleball.
Lots of pickleball. We've got a lot of dodgeball, kickball, those sorts of leagues down here. Frisbee golf, that sort of thing.
We do call it California kickball.
Oh, it's California. Oh, really?
We actually do. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's California kickball, not just kickball.
I was not aware that was our cultural contribution to this to this whole thing. Oh gosh! All right.
Back to friendship. What were your questions again? Did we answer them?
I think we did. We were talking about practical steps. How do you make friends? How do you find friends? What are practical steps and what are the emotional steps? And I think we did a pretty good job of talking about kind of where these friendship potentials might be. They may be old friends that you're trying to enhance those friendships and maybe take them to a deeper level, or maybe it's starting fresh. And one of the venues we discussed, trying to find some common ground with people, trying to work through the self-consciousness and show curiosity about other people, and maybe even considering it, as Brooke said, kind of considering it to be like a service to humanity. Like maybe someone else needs me to be there for them. It's not even at all about my needs. Maybe I need to be reaching out to someone else to brighten their day, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Another one, as you were talking, another option for people is a little bit of role play almost. So if you envision somebody, almost like resource installation. So if you were to think of somebody who's a role model who connects well to others and easily makes friends, how would they interact in this situation?
Got it.
Can you embody that person as if you were an actor? Can you become that character and interact with others in your environment?
I like that. I'll play that character.
Mm-hmm.
You be the dragon boat. I'll be Smashmouth. We'll make friends and it'll be good. Time to wrap up, guys.
Oh.
That's it. Please like and subscribe to our podcast on Apple, Google, Podbean. Send us your questions to info@mentalhealthbootcamp.com. Visit us on Facebook or Instagram. And just for this week, how about telling a friend? Just tell one other person that we exist, and this is a good way to make friends. All right? Hey, guys.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
See you all later.
Bye, everyone.
Good night. Bye-bye.
Bye.